We are looking at Delmont one more time, actually. This time we're going to be seeing coal, how coal influenced things up there. This was where, that's the town of Delmont. And out here is Salem Township. And what you see written in large letters all over the place up here is coal, coal, coal. This mapping shows us the 1860s. And at this point, coal was not really being developed. I mean, it wasn't being extracted, but there was an awareness of it, as you can tell from the maps. Now here we see Delmont or Salem Crossroads over here, and looking to the territory and going west, which was then called Franklin Township. And you see the same thing over here, a large awareness of coal, all these, but there wasn't really much extraction going on in the 1860s yet. Also, I might mention the fact that this railroad did not exist at this time. This was a carryover from the days when they had planned possibly to run the main line over this way, and this was where it would have gone, but it was never used. But the right-of-way was eventually used for the Turtle Creek Valley Railroad. Now, the Turtle Creek Valley Railroad was eventually run up through there, and that was the big thing that allowed coal to be produced and allowed coal to be a vital economic factor for the area. People got work in the mines. In the early 1890s, export got the railroad. By 1910, 1911, the railroad was running up to White Valley. And by around 1915 or so, it was going up past Dunningtown on its way up to more mines in the northwest area. This is mapping from around 1912. I won't say exactly 1912, but it's in that neighborhood. And this red line I indicated, this is the railroad going up this way. Probably by 1915, it was going past Dunningtown up here and on its way out, going northeast. This was Dunningtown. Just to orient you, this is Delmont right over here. Right down here is Ringertown with its mines. Delmont number 2 and 3 were down at Ringertown. Number 4, Delmont number 4 mine was up here for a while, but it didn't last long. Only the first couple of years. The Delmont mines opened in 1910 during a really big strike, and that was probably not the smartest thing to do, but anyhow, by 1914, they were producing good amounts of coal. I mean, sizable. Down here was the White Valley area, and right in here was the White Valley mine. There are still some buildings left, which we can see. And it was the New York and Cleveland Gas Coal Company that was running these Delmont mines. They were a subsidiary of Pittsburgh Coal, which in the 1920s took them over again. This is the tipple at White Valley. Now there's another view of this, a bit more recent, because you can see the powerhouse has been added. With the big stack, the powerhouse, that powerhouse is still there, functioning as a bus garage. And this just shows a travel atlas from around 1917. These red lines are roads. Delmont is right here. Export is out here, showing White Valley right here. This is the railroad coming up from the main line and coming the whole way out to White Valley. And by 1917, we know it went further than White Valley. But these maps are not always up to date. This is White Valley, what's left today. This was the powerhouse. The big tipple was gone. This was a machine shop up here, as far as I can tell. This is now a residence. These buildings have been repurposed, and they're still in use. This is what it looks like from the air. This is White Valley over here, White Valley, and this is where the mine was, with the bus garage and the shop. And the railroad came over this way, came up. This was Ringertown over here. There were two mines over here, numbers 2 and 3. Coming up to here was Dunningtown. Dunningtown was named for a guy named Dunning, who was superintendent of these Delmont mines when they were running. The railroad went up. You can barely see the outline of the railroad right away, but it was going up here. And again, mapping helps sometimes to clarify things. This right over here is the middle of Delmont. Export is off of our map. And this is the railroad, the red line. And this being Dunningtown, this being Ringertown, this being White Valley. This was Delmont number 1. Numbers 2 and 3 were up here. 4 was up here originally, but it didn't last long. This is a shot of Dunningtown. You can see the railroad going through. And this big building was not associated with mine. That was a township school that was one time at Dunningtown. This is 1930 mapping of Dunningtown. And it was in the early 1930s that Dunningtown was the mine, and all of the Delmont mines were shut down. And this is 1939. Right down here is Delmont. And we can come in a bit closer. This is or was Dunningtown. You can see there are missing houses by 1939. And there's perhaps somebody looking at this who can even see their own home here. Some of these houses are still here. And this is what was Ringertown down here. And this was the railroad going through. The Turtle Creek Valley Railroad, which was mostly a coal hauling railroad. And I think we've said enough. So that's all, folks. And it's good to have you along for the trip. And we'll say so long for this one.